On the day of delivery, I witnessed my cousin swapping her beast egg with mine. I pretended to sleep with closed eyes, letting her take and mistreat my child, yet I continued nurturing her egg day and night with the essence of my heart's blood. In the end, her egg hatched into a celestial phoenix of extraordinary gifts, cherished deeply by both my husband and me. I hatched as a lowly gray sparrow, devoid of cultivation talent, with my tongue cruelly clipped and body violated by her design. On the day of the Phoenix Maiden selection, my cousin tearfully demanded a blood test, claiming we'd been switched at birth. The corner of my lips curled slightly. I've been waiting for this day far too long. I was instructing Dahlia in her cultivation practice in the courtyard when my cousin arrived with her entourage. Cousin, must you make a young girl train so rigorously at dawn? She rushed to Dahlia's side, wiping her sweat and fussing over whether she was thirsty, hungry, or exhausted. I could only smile wryly. Ever since she'd swapped our eggs years ago, she'd made a habit of these intrusive visits. Sometimes he'd claim I couldn't handle younglings, other times he'd worry I'd overexert myself. Truth was, he seized every chance to spend time with our daughter. As for my daughter, I glanced behind her, clad in tattered rags. She instinctively shrank from sight. Her body mottled with bruises, countless beatings had left this spiritless creature without a trace of magic. I'm a phoenix, my husband's a phoenix, yet our daughter turned out to be a drab little sparrow. She flashed me a grin, her mouth a dark void, her tongue had been cruelly shortened, leaving her speech slurred and broken. Mara pays her respects to Auntie Mara, so that's what she named my daughter. My cousin paused briefly, and seeing no reaction from me, she shot me a secretive yet pleased glance before continuing to hold Dahlia's hand and ask, "How is your cultivation journey going, Dahlia?" Auntie has a heart lotus that can help you withstand the heavenly tribulation. I'll have it sent to you tomorrow. Don't stand on ceremony with me. In my heart, you're as dear as my own daughter. Dahlia replied with composed pride. Thank you, Aunt. I'll train diligently to uphold our honor. I'm now a celestial tier phoenix after all. My cousin's heart blossomed with joy upon hearing this. After all, I'd nourished Dahlia's egg for 10 years with my lifeblood to help her hatch. We raised her with rare treasures after hatching, and fortunately, her extraordinary talents proved worthy of our efforts. She's already made a name for herself among beastkin at such a tender age. Perhaps reminded that she was Dahlia's real mother, my cousin unconsciously straightened her posture in front of me. Then, she yanked my daughter over by her hair. Look at Cousin Dahlia, then look at yourself. Had I known you'd turn out like this, you'd have been better off dead in the egg. My daughter whimpered in pain. The more she cried out, the harder my cousin pulled. Keep dodging, I'll make you regret it. She yanked out a fistful of hair, roots still dripping with blood, then waved it before my eyes to ensure I got a good look. Cousin, let me teach you today. This is how we discipline trash. Dahlia frowned nearby, prompting her younger cousin to quickly grasp her hand in reassurance. Don't be afraid, Dahlia. That little bitch got what she deserved. You're nothing like her. She then shot her daughter a venomous glare. My daughter scrambled up, quickly wiped away the blood, and responded with her head bowed. I'm sorry, Sister Dahlia. I didn't mean to scare you. Indeed, her first instinct was to apologize to Dahlia, knowing her mother wouldn't stay angry only if Dahlia wasn't. The moment she finished speaking, her cousin kicked her square in the stomach again. Who said you could call Dahlia sister? Know your place, address her as Divine Maiden. My cousin was peeling grapes for Dahlia without even looking up. Not strangling her at birth was the greatest mercy I could show. She shot me another meaningful glance. A mere sparrow has no place among phoenixes. As her mother, I'd rather die of shame. I pretended not to understand, indulging her little scheme. At the banquet, my cousin became even more attentive, serving dishes to Dahlia with exaggerated care. Though Dahlia loved eating smelt, the fish was full of tiny bones. My cousin would rather go hungry herself than let Dahlia pick them out. Meanwhile, my daughter sat chained to the table, licking her lips before timidly whispering a question. Mom, can I have a steamed bun? Her face twisted in rage as she slapped her daughter twice, then dumped all the leftovers into a basin and shoved the girl's head into it. Eat, go on and eat, like you've never had a meal before. The girl's face was smeared with filth. Tears and snot mixing together as she threw me a desperate pleading glance. I leisurely sipped the spiritual wine. What an exquisite taste. Dahlia paled with fright, and her cousin immediately dragged her daughter away upon noticing. If you dare offend your cousin again, you'll regret it. The plain-faced woman wore a numb expression, knowing fresh torment likely awaited her at home. The next day, my cousin delivered Xinlian as promised, but my daughter never showed up. As if afraid I might miss the point, she locked eyes with me and said, "Last night I sent 3 beasts to properly discipline that ill-mannered slut, just some mongrel bird anyway, hardly matters. What's important is that Dahlia belongs to us. Don't you agree, sister?" I nodded, drawing a disapproving glance from my husband, a man of unwavering integrity. With my consent secured, her smile widened. She reveled in manipulating us mother and daughter like puppets. She presented the lotus to Dahlia with ceremonial reverence. Dahlia, this is our clan's most treasured heirloom from Auntie's lineage. Consuming it will surely help you withstand the heavenly tribulation. Dahlia didn't reach for it, instead giving me a hesitant glance. The gift was far too precious. My cousin panicked and grabbed her wrist, terrified Dahlia might accept it and deprive us of the offering. This is for your own good. Pay no mind to others. Anyone who denies you this has a heart blacker than coal. With that, she commanded Dahlia to revert to her true form, preparing to refine the heart lotus. Her eyes burned with admiration as she gazed upon Dahlia's true form, only to suddenly notice a missing feather at the tip of her tail. Then she jabbed her finger right under my nose, practically spitting in my face with fury. How could you let this happen? You didn't even notice Dahlia lost a feather. Is this how a mother should behave? I asked her in confusion. You've nearly plucked your own daughter bald, yet you're throwing a fit over Dahlia losing one single hair by accident. Spare some attention for your own child. My nonchalant demeanor made her tremble with rage, yet she could do nothing about it. For some unknown reason, a venomous smirk crept across her face. She activated the communication talisman, slashed that bastard's face to ribbons. Dahlia's injured. That wretch must have harmed her. Then came the blood-curdling screams, Mara's cub wailing as if its heart were bleeding. Save me, I admit my wrongs. My cousin looked positively enchanted as if hearing celestial music, while Dahlia maintained her habitual silence on such matters, and I remained unmoved as ever. After severing the communication charm, my cousin's mood improved considerably. My daughter's agonized cries seemed to be her perfect remedy. Dahlia is destined to become the Phoenix Priestess. Sister, you should be more meticulous. Dahlia shot her a reproachful glance. Aunt, I accidentally plucked the feather myself. It won't affect my cultivation. No need to make a fuss. Her cousin was on the verge of tears from anxiety. How can this be nothing? You must take care of yourself. Cousin, sister. Brother-in-law, hurry and nourish Dahlia with your heart's blood. I narrowed my eyes, making her visibly uncomfortable until she let out an awkward chuckle. I'm just concerned about Dahlia's health. Then she promptly ushered Dahlia into the house. Come, let me help you refine the heart lotus, my dear. With this, you shall surely ascend as the Phoenix Maiden. On the day of your ascension, I shall reveal a secret of cosmic importance to you. Watching the heart lotus gradually merge with Dahlia's essence, I quietly closed the door behind them, veiling the frost in my eyes. Indeed, some secrets are meant to be unveiled. As the selection ceremony drew nearer, my cousin visited more frequently, yet I never saw my daughter again. Whenever Kale inquired, she'd respond with venomous sarcasm. What's this, my dear brother-in-law pining after that little hussy? Shall I deliver her to you as a concubine? Kale could only sigh in silent frustration. On the day of the ceremony, beings from all corners of the realm gathered. Dahlia descended in a radiant gown of iridescent feathers, while my daughter was dragged like a dog with chains piercing through her collarbones, leaving a trail of blood behind. Just as the divine maiden's succession was about to be announced, my cousin clutched the kinship stone with utter devastation written across her face. It's all wrong, sister. Mara's blood doesn't blend with mine on the kinship stone at all. Only after relentless interrogation did I learn the witch doctor had switched the babies. They were too afraid of punishment to speak up. Sister, I'm returning Mara to you. Dahlia is my true daughter. She collapsed to her knees, desperately clutching my skirt hem as she wept pitifully, yet none of the clan elders showed any sympathy. Dahlia is a phoenix, undoubtedly the true-born daughter of Lyriel and her husband. How could a mere nightingale like you give birth to a phoenix? Everyone knows Dahlia was raised with noble grace to become a divine maiden, while Mara's purity was allegedly compromised long ago. How could they possibly be swapped? Who doesn't know Dahlia is Fairy Lyriel's most cherished treasure? Yet some voiced dissenting opinions. Come to think of it, doesn't Mara actually bear a stronger resemblance to Fairy Lyriel? Mara glanced up at me briefly before lowering her eyes again. While my husband's uncertain gaze kept shifting between us, I raised my hand to signal for silence, a faint smile playing on my lips. In that case, let's switch back. Dahlia is indeed your daughter. My cousin's sobs cut off abruptly mid-cry, leaving her prepared speeches unused as Kale rushed up to confront me. How could you make this decision alone? We've poured our hearts into Dahlia. I won't tolerate such recklessness from you. The hope drained from Mara's face as her tears darkened the ground, yet I declared with unwavering conviction, indeed, my cousin speaks the truth. Mara is truly the child of my husband and me. After all, I witnessed with my own eyes the moment those two beast eggs were swapped. Mara's eyes lit up again at these words, inching imperceptibly closer to me as her lips parted to call me mother. Beads of sweat dripped from Kale's forehead in desperation. Lyriel. We prayed to our ancestors for 100 days before being blessed with our precious daughter. How could you stand by and watch our daughter be taken without lifting a finger? He scanned the surroundings with feral intensity. Did someone cast a puppet spell on you? I gently pushed his hand away and whispered, let the truth stone settle this matter. Mara hastily offered her scarred arm, making a deep cut that visibly moved Kale. Before everyone's eyes. Mara's blood mingled with ours, my spouse's and mine. Cale's eyes burned crimson at the sight of Mara's suffering, and without hesitation he drove his sword through my shoulder. Lyriel, why in God's name would you do this? Our daughter was tortured to this state right before your eyes, and you just stood there watching. What kind of heart do you even have? I clutched my wound in silence. When Mara realized I'd known all along, she broke down completely, dragging her battered body. She crawled to my feet. My throat felt like sandpaper as I rasped out the question, Mother, why won't you acknowledge me? Am I not good enough? I can change. Mother, please don't abandon me. When I didn't respond, she stopped crying and sank her teeth viciously into my leg, as if unleashing a century's worth of resentment. My leg bled from the bite, yet no one came to my aid. They looked at me like I was some heartless monster, after all. Anyone who'd let their own daughter suffer abuse for years under their nose deserves no pity. Since no one's helping me, I'll handle this myself. I looked down at her coldly, yanked her up from the ground, and flashed a cruel smile. My hand closed around her slender neck, tightening inch by inch as disbelief filled her eyes. Her legs kicked wildly in the air until her struggles ceased altogether. The silence was so profound that only the sound of steady breathing could be heard. The secret was finally about to be revealed. After a brief moment of silence, the crowd erupted in gasps. I smiled in satisfaction upon seeing someone release a messenger talisman for the Phoenix ancestor. She entered closed-door cultivation and would only emerge for matters of life and death within the clan. Mara lay discarded like a broken rag doll, her neck twisted at an unnatural angle, her lifeless eyes staring accusingly in my direction. My husband cradled her body, weeping bitterly. Wake up and look at your father, my child. I've failed you all these years. As I approached, the crowd instinctively formed a human barricade between the grieving father and daughter. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't harm its own cub. You're worse than an animal. She's clearly the mastermind behind the child swap. Couldn't bear her own infertility, so she stole someone else's child, and now she's trying to cover her tracks. Poor child never knew a single day of happiness. Their argument escalated into violence, with younger generations spontaneously attacking me with all manner of magical artifacts aimed at my face and head. My head was battered bloody, my body a mass of wounds without a single patch of unbroken skin, yet I never stopped laughing. I swallowed the metallic tang in my mouth, letting blood stain my teeth crimson. Madness. She's completely possessed. She could have saved her own daughter. Instead she killed her. I laughed wildly without a shred of remorse, even spitting a bloody froth at my daughter's corpse in open defiance. This further enraged the masses. Righteous warriors recorded my atrocities with memory stones to expose them across all realms. Word spread like wildfire. The Phoenix clan had birthed a she-devil whom all vowed to destroy. Countless married Phoenix women were cast out by their families, while pending betrothals were abruptly cancelled, all because of my actions. They loathe me to the bone, itching to skin me alive. But is that punishment enough? With every step I take forward, they retreat. My cultivation demands respect, else why would I be chosen as Cale's bride? Bloodied footprints marked my path as I approached my cousin. Let's settle her score first. She was holding Dahlia's hand and saying, My precious darling, let me take a good look at you. You must have suffered so much all these years. Suffered. She knows damn well whether Dahlia's really suffered or not. She shrank back as I approached, confronting me with a trembling voice. You knew all along. Why did you stay silent? You just want to monopolize Dahlia's Phoenix bloodline, don't you? Waiting to bask in divine glory when she's chosen as the celestial maiden. I raised both girls with equal care. Yet Dahlia ascended as a celestial phoenix while Mara remained a common sparrow. Tell me, whose fault is this? Even if your daughter isn't some golden child, that doesn't give you the right to steal mine. She screamed herself hoarse, as if volume could mask her guilt. I casually wiped the blood from my lips, grinning like a demon. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? Her eyes darted around with barely concealed guilt. What wish of mine was granted? A century without knowing my own daughter. Had I known this outcome, I'd have fought tooth and nail to reclaim her. She kept deflecting blame, never once acknowledging her abuse of Mara. Her fierce protectiveness of Dahlia stood in stark contrast to my cold-blooded killing of Mara. Indeed, why I never exchanged the child back has become an enduring mystery that haunts everyone. If only I could endure a single sentence. My daughter would be spared the suffering, she who should have been cherished like a precious jewel. Even if I'm unwilling to lose Dahlia, shouldn't I at least protect my own daughter? Mythical beasts from all corners of the realm gathered in growing numbers, stirring even the celestial deities of the highest heavens. The Phoenix ancestor who entered closed-door cultivation is about to emerge. Violet lightning as thick as a child's arm coiled above me, thirsting to strike me down. I scanned my surroundings, propping up my battered body with my sword. Then, let's begin. Ask me anything. Today I'll hold nothing back and speak my mind freely. A long silence followed, until one impatient junior finally spoke up. Did you actually see the beast egg being swapped, or are you just having delusions again? I burst out laughing. Fair enough. With my disheveled hair and blood-streaked face, I did look every bit the madwoman. I answered loudly and clearly, yes. I saw it with my own eyes. Not only that, I recorded it with a memory stone. I flicked a pebble and witnessed the scene from a century ago, my cousin urgently instructing Witchy to swap whatever offspring I bore with hers. On the day of delivery, the witch doctor unhesitatingly switched the two beast eggs. The evidence was irrefutable, clear as day. My husband's single spell strike made my cousin vomit blood. After all, everyone could see the scars covering Mara's body, lash marks, burns, even bite wounds on intimate areas. Such cruelty should never be inflicted upon a young creature. Many lowered their teary eyes, while others summoned magical artifacts to guide Mara's departing spirit. Yet no matter what we tried, Mara's spirit refused to coalesce, and my husband turned his furious gaze upon me. She must be turning in her grave. Lyriel, you had countless chances to save our daughter. Why didn't you speak up? Unless you truly coveted Dahlia's celestial lineage. But no matter what, Mara was our child, my daughter. Oh, my daughter. Never had the Phoenix Clan's young master wept with such anguish. Even the celestial deities couldn't resist sending divine messages, demanding to know what secrets lay beneath. Patience, we'll handle things one step at a time. Before addressing their doubts, I must first resolve my own. Cousin, why on earth did you switch the babies? Pa, what cousin? Don't flatter yourself. You're just some orphan girl our clan picked up. How dare you call yourself my sister? If I hadn't thrown you scraps, you'd have been monster food long ago. I let out a heavy sigh. Fine, we're not sisters. Then why did you swap the eggs? I've done nothing to wrong you. Her spiritual energy erupted violently upon hearing this. Nothing to wrong me. What makes you superior? Don't you know I was supposed to marry Kale? God knows how you bewitched him. Phoenixes rarely conceive, yet you're carrying his child. How could I let you have your way? Your daughter has been groveling before me like a dog since childhood, a mere snap of my fingers, and she comes running. When I cut out her tongue, I lied that she could call me mother in public if she endured it. The fool actually believed me. Ha, oh, you didn't know. While those three beasts ravaged her, she kept screaming, Mother, it hurts, Mother. What were you doing back then? Off enjoying moonlit boat rides with my Dahlia, weren't you? I can't sleep a wink unless your daughter's weeping blood every night. Oh Lyriel, dear Lyriel, you've lost this round. I stared at her in utter bewilderment. You'd throw away decades of sisterhood over some man, just some man, is that it? Kale could no longer restrain himself. He struck her across the face with such force that her teeth went flying. We were never formally betrothed. And what Lyriel and I share is mutual affection. You vile wretch, I'll kill you. The cousin collapsed to the ground, coughing up blood, while her clansmen stood frozen in terrified silence. She's made an irreconcilable enemy of the Phoenix clan. No one can save her now. After all, my kindness to her was known throughout the realms. I always had her back in every duel, and gifted her a dowry that stretched for miles when she married, when she suffered injustice in her marital home. I demanded justice for her as the Phoenix Queen. At this point, she finally dropped her usual delicate facade. She frantically demanded of Kale, fine, I'm shameless, but what kind of saint is that Lyriel anyway, worth your fierce defense? Her outburst instantly turned the crowd's hostility toward me. Indeed, I realized long ago, why wait until today to settle what could have been resolved a century past? Kale turned around, his eyes brimming with sorrow. Lyriel, I'll believe whatever you say. Even now. Divine Lord Kale remains so devoted to this woman, his love truly knows no bounds. Despite the gruesome scene, many beastkin maidens awaiting marriage blushed as they gazed at him, as if to proclaim his love. He cast aside his sword, suppressed 80% of his power, and opened his arms to embrace me. Lyriel, come here to your husband. You must be under some spell, aren't you? After all the suffering we endured to nurture that beast egg, how could you just watch it being taken away? Do you remember when you were pregnant, we picked 5 or 6 names for our daughter together, and even buried a jar of newer hung wine according to mortal traditions? Have you forgotten all that? His eyes brimmed with tenderness as he set the perfect stage. If only I'd admit my cousin had framed and bewitched me, everything would resolve itself. Even the long silent Phoenix ancestor spoke up. There will be other children, for now. Let Kale examine you first, lost in thought. I dropped my sword as Kale slowly approached me. My cousin struggled and screamed, Why, how can you still love her? She's just a bitch. Kale cast a silencing spell to shut her up, then continued moving toward me. At last, he stood mere inches away, drawing me into his embrace with gentle murmurs of comfort. Lyriel, have I wronged you somehow? I know my official duties kept me distant these days. You can hit me, curse me. But how could our child endure such suffering? I know you're carrying burdens. Take your time, tell me everything. His voice softened to a whisper as his hidden hand traced a sleeping sigil behind my back. My pupils glazed over before I bit down hard on my tongue to jolt myself awake. My arms encircled his waist as I breathed floral whispers against his ear, sending shivers down his spine. Kale, would you give me anything I desire? He answered with an indulgent smile. Lyriel, anything that's mine is yours. My fingers transformed into claws at his vital point, my voice glacial, even if it means your life. The onlookers recoiled at the sudden violence, their gazes burning with undisguised loathing. How utterly tactless of me. Kale showed such devotion and went to great lengths to protect me. Had I just yielded, I'd still be the Phoenix Queen, yet even with his vital point in my grasp, Kale remained unshaken. Lyriel, whatever grievances you hold against me, I accept them all. To have known you in this lifetime, even if I die in your arms, I'd have no regrets. His eyes brimmed with sincerity. Had I not regained my memories, I might have truly fallen for his deception. Seeing my prolonged silence, even the Phoenix ancestor grew restless. She gazed at me with feigned benevolence. Child, speak your grievances to me. I shall see justice done for you. TSK, the sheer audacity. Did she truly think I missed the venom lurking beneath her gaze? Kale nodded repeatedly. Lyriel? Tell me what's troubling you. Let the patriarch scold or strike me. I just can't bear to lose you. His lovesick gaze made me nauseous, while the surrounding stares felt lethal enough to kill. Had I not been holding Kale as my hostage, I'd have been utterly annihilated by now. Everyone kept trying to persuade me. After all, I held the future of the Phoenix clan in my hands. Fairy Lyriel, you can always have another child. If this one isn't a phoenix, the next one surely will be. Besides, love through upbringing outweighs blood ties. Dahlia will surely be filial to you. This is all that Nightingale's fault. Amused by their words, I couldn't help but ask with playful curiosity, do you know why, though both Kale and I are phoenixes, we ended up with a motley feathered sparrow for offspring? The ever-composed phoenix ancestor's eyelids finally twitched violently, his gaze gradually turning ferocious. The heavenly thunder ceased, replaced by golden light shimmering upon me, a sign the deities above took keen interest in this matter. I decided to cut the suspense and shouted outright, well, because Kale's true form is just a scruffy little sparrow. Everyone looked at me like I was some madwoman. Even Kale couldn't help but chuckle. The expected uproar never came. My words vanished like a pebble dropped into the ocean, leaving not a single ripple. Kale said gently, Lyriel, stop this nonsense. I know young ladies care about their dignity, but we can't indulge your wild claims. If your offspring turned out sparrow-like, it's clearly due to your impure lineage. Voices chimed in from the crowd. Everyone knows the Kale bloodline descended from the golden phoenix tree, the holiest birthplace of all phoenixes across the realms. The primordial phoenix itself emerged from that very place before claiming dominion over the spirit world. If anything, it's you who's suspicious, appearing out of nowhere as a phoenix, probably some wild mountain stray. Who are you to question Lord Kale? Not a soul present believed me, which only made my apparent madness more undeniable. I lowered my head, smiling at the ignorance surrounding me. Does every bird from Golden Phoenix all truly deserve its name? I fixed my gaze upon the celestial heavens and declared, I wager my life before the celestial ones, if Kale proves but a common sparrow. Would the gods grant me one boon? Should my words prove false, I shall endure the ninefold heavenly tribulation. After a moment's pause, a single character materialized in the air. Granted, with the permission secured, I steadied myself and cast a spell toward Kale. A luminous barrier enveloped him, fading only when the radiant rings dissipated. A sapphire phoenix let out a crystalline cry, materializing before the astonished crowd. Pft, ha ha ha. Someone's derisive snicker started a chain reaction, dimming even the celestial golden light as if bored by the spectacle. The azure phoenix sighed and spoke in human tongue. Lyriel, had enough fun. Your husband hasn't revealed his true form in years. Now that you've seen it, be a good girl and come home with me. All right, what happened today stays here. No one present will speak a word of it. As he leaned in to nuzzle against me like in our tender past when we'd nestle cheek to cheek. All I felt now was revulsion. I shoved his head away and spat out words dripping with venom. You thief. Before anyone could react, I reached out and ripped the golden core from his body. A radiant, blood-stained pearl now rested in my palm. How dare you, brat. As I openly slaughtered the Phoenix clan's young master, the divine retribution loomed overhead. I could feel the crushing weight of the god's wrath in every strand of my hair. Yet murmurs rippled through the crowd. Look, look, Divine Lord Kale is changing. He's transforming. With his neck in my grip, Kale was reduced before all eyes from a majestic phoenix to a scruffy, motley feathered sparrow. I let out a cheerful whistle at the phoenix ancestor across from me. You've stolen from my family. Isn't it time to return what's ours? She remained seated with downcast eyelids, exuding an air of saintly compassion. I don't know where you learned the magic to turn Kale into a sparrow, but he cherished you deeply. I only hope you'll see reason and turn back from this path." At these words, even my supporters began to waver with doubt. I scoffed. She probably assumed I'd only heard rumors without grasping the crux of the matter. She was banking on my lack of witnesses, since the Great Fire had consumed everything years ago, clearing my throat. I activated the voice projection technique. "Today, I shall tell you a tale of biting the hand that feeds. Since ancient times, two golden phoenixes dwelled on Jinwu Island, a devoted couple for millennia who vanquished countless demonic beasts across the four realms." An elder in the audience nodded in agreement. "Indeed, I too have heard the legends of these two primordial golden phoenixes." I continued my story. "One year, they rescued a sparrow during their heroic travels. The sparrow begged to serve Princess Golden Phoenix as her maid. And since the princess was with child at the time, she took her in, but the shameless creature tried to seduce the Golden Phoenix King. When caught, she wept buckets, claiming temporary insanity, and pleaded not to be cast out. With every word I spoke, the Phoenix ancestor's face darkened further, a sight that filled me with wicked delight. On the day of Princess Golden Phoenix's labor, complications arose. While the Phoenix King went to fetch medicinal herbs, that wretched sparrow brutally gouged out the princess's inner core. This vile act doomed both mother and unborn child. When the Phoenix King returned, the traitor then lured him into the annihilation array. Finally, she set Golden Phoenix Island ablaze, devoured the princess's core, and soared through the flames, a false phoenix rising from what she pretended to be nirvanic rebirth. As the tale concluded, my gaze burned into the old crone sitting across from me. "Don't you think so, Old Sparrow?" Perhaps my tale was too horrifying. The room fell into a prolonged silence. Only one person managed to utter a hollow question from the crowd. "Then who are you? What proof do you have?" "I've been waiting for this moment." I smiled faintly, swallowing my father king's golden core as 9 radiant golden tail plumes unfurled behind me. "I am the orphan they left behind. That wretch thought me a mere stone egg when she cast me into the flames. But we golden phoenixes are blessed by heaven and earth, nourished by the essence of sun and moon until hatching. In my fledgling days, the golden core's aura led me here. Only after wedding Kale and sharing countless days did my memories fully return. "Tell me, who do you think I am?" A glint of golden light flashed in my eyes as the so-called phoenix ancestor descended from the Polonia platform. To my surprise, it was a graceful middle-aged woman radiating noble elegance. I reached out and tore off her beautiful facade. "How dare you wear my mother's face?" Where the golden light touched, all phoenixes revealed their true forms, nothing but scraggly gray-feathered birds flapping their wings in panic. I chose today to reveal this truth to all realms because only during the Phoenix Maiden selection does the celestial deity descend. I shall wield the celestial deity's power to strike awe across all realms and demand justice for my royal parents. I looked up to seek the deity's counsel. "Does your earlier promise still hold?" I demand its fulfillment now. Divine energy enveloped me in silence, yet my wounds healed miraculously and even my beast core gained renewed luster. This silent approval meant one thing: I was granted divine sanction to settle scores. The divine radiance faded moments later as the deities withdrew, leaving the battlefield to me. With a snap of my fingers, a stone throne materialized midair, upon which I lounged lazily. Who shall be first? The barely alive Kale reshaped into human form, lifting his head defiantly to challenge me. "That's still our child. How could you be so heartless?" I gave him an icy stare. "What makes you think I'd bear a child for my enemy, especially after you vowed eternal loyalty while keeping concubines on the side? You schemed to eliminate the mother and keep the child, thinking me too lowborn to notice. Did you take me for a fool? Mara was just some random monster I cobbled together by mixing a wisp of resentment with your essence. Don't overthink it." He'd hoped to rely on marital ties to escape punishment, but that clearly wasn't happening now. After asking these questions, he tried to slip away unnoticed in the crowd. With a wave of my hand, all his limbs snapped as he collapsed onto the ground. "Who else? Your turn, you venomous hag." But she remained defiant. The treasures between heaven and earth belonged to the capable. Their demise was due to their own foolishness. You can't blame me for that. Besides, they're dead now. As your only living relative, how dare you show me such disrespect? She suddenly assumed this air of seniority over me. I laughed in angry disbelief. Why waste breath arguing with someone so unreasonable? With a gesture, I levitated her body midair, then began slowly extracting the portion of the Queen Mother's power that resided within her. After all these years, the power had become deeply fused with her being. Strands of golden light streamed out from her body one after another. The sound of snapping bones filled me with perverse delight. In mere minutes, she aged a century, collapsing like a dead dog, clawing her face and body into bloody ruin while screaming, "I'm a phoenix. I am a phoenix." My cousin had shrunk into the corner, Scrambling backward in terror when she saw me, had she remained true to me, I could have helped her ascend as the vermilion bird today, ruling over the beast tribes. She was the first to show me genuine kindness after I regained my memories. The Oriole clan is innocent, and I have no sisters, yet she harbored such bitter envy toward me. After deliberation, I severed her spiritual roots, like any avian clan member. She could have gradually transcended tribulations to become a vermilion bird or phoenix, but with her temperament, greater cultivation would only bring calamity. After her spiritual roots were destroyed, her cultivation could never progress further. Now that worldly affairs are settled, the whole world seems like a pit of filth to me, schemes upon schemes, nothing but corruption. It's time I return to Golden Phoenix Island to honor my parents. Spending the rest of my days with them will be enough. Just as I turned to leave, Dahlia caught hold of my sleeve. My feelings toward this child were complicated. She truly received my heart's blood, yet I'd also used her to scheme against my cousin. Despite all that happened today, she never wavered like others, only gazing at me with sorrow. I barely caught her whisper, "Mother, can you take me with you? I'll be good." Just like before, I let out a long sigh. The path of cultivation is long. Having a daughter might not be so bad after all. Years later, when the celestial being descended to the mortal realm and prepared to return, they asked me, "My love, my daughter, would you follow your father to dwell in the ancient realm?" Story 2. In my previous life, I never would have imagined that the best friend I risked my life to protect would push me into a horde of zombies. It wasn't until after I died that I learned the world I lived in was nothing more than an apocalyptic novel. And my best friend was a chosen time-traveling girl who knew the plot of the book and had the blessing of a system. She approached me with great deliberation, all to steal the protagonist's opportunities that rightfully belonged to me. Once I had outlived my usefulness, she pushed me into the zombie horde without warning. She clung to success over my life and the lives of my teammates. With the spatial bracelet I gave her and the heartthrob system, she charmed one man after another and thrived in the apocalypse. In this new life, my teammates and I enjoy a delicious butter hot pot while watching the time-traveling girl kneel on the ground, starving, and beg me for a bite to eat. I pick up a piece of steaming tripe, smile at her, and say, "You want some? Keep dreaming. In this life, I'll make sure she wishes she were dead." 1. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to a month before the apocalypse. Right when the time-traveling girl asked me for the spatial bracelet, "Isabella, the bracelet on your wrist is so beautiful. Can you give it to me as a birthday gift?" Seeing that I didn't respond, she nervously waved her uninjured hand and said, "If this bracelet means a lot to you, it's okay to give me something else." Then she lowered her head with a sad expression. "It's already great that you'd give me a gift. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be so pushy. I've just never had anyone give me a birthday gift since I was a child. I got too excited when you said you'd give me one." As this familiar scene played out again, I finally believed that I had truly been reborn. I bought this bracelet in an ancient street in my previous life. Although it wasn't expensive, I liked it so much that I always wore it. In my previous life, seeing Amelia's concern for my injured left hand and her pitiful look, even though I was reluctant, I gave her the bracelet as a birthday gift. It wasn't until after I died that I learned it was all part of Amelia's scheme. Even our first meeting was a carefully crafted deception designed just for me. I first met Amelia during the winter vacation of my freshman year. I was alone, buying food on the street. Suddenly, a man in his 20s grabbed me without explanation and tried to stuff me into a white van. He shouted, "Baby, let's go home. Stop making a scene." Despite my desperate struggles and pleas for passers-by to call the police, no one did. People assumed we were just a couple arguing, and many were afraid of getting involved. I wanted to break the phones or valuables of the passers-by to force them to call the police, but from the moment the incident started, people stayed away, and I had no chance. Just as I was about to be pulled into the van, Amelia appeared. She shouted at the man, "I've already called the police. Let her go." Then she helped me break free, and the man fled in the van. After reporting the incident to the police, we discovered that we attended the same university. That's how we got to know each other and became inseparable best friends. It wasn't until after I died that I learned the man who abducted me was hired by her. Everything was just a play to get close to me. Even the injury to my left hand today was part of her elaborate plan. She hired a group of thugs to stop me, then saved me and got herself injured to make me feel guilty and finally obtain my spatial bracelet. She really went to a lot of trouble. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I lifted Amelia's chin and slapped her hard. "Amelia, you really are pushy. You stole my boyfriend and still have the nerve to ask me for a birthday gift." After that, I turned and left the hospital room, leaving her stunned. 2. My boyfriend, Wesley, and I were classmates in high school. I had a crush on him back then but never had the courage to confess. He was a popular figure in school, wealthy, powerful, and excellent at studying. To my surprise, Wesley confessed his feelings to me right after the college entrance examination. We got together naturally and applied to the same university. I thought we would be happy together forever, but not long after the apocalypse broke out in my previous life, Wesley broke up with me, citing a difference in values. I couldn't understand why we broke up. We seemed so compatible and had never argued once. It wasn't until after I died that I learned he had cheated on me and gotten together with Amelia long before the apocalypse. Because I didn't show much sadness, Amelia asked me several times if I was really okay. Looking back now, everything makes sense. I was just too naive before. How could I not be heartbroken after breaking up with the person I loved, but in the harsh environment of the apocalypse? I could only suppress my sadness and focus on survival. I wasn't worried about falling out with Amelia. After all, she needed me, not the other way around. Without her, I could work more freely without having to hide anything. On the way back, I called Wesley and cursed him and his entire family. Amelia was no good, and Wesley was a womanizer. As soon as I got back to my rental apartment, Amelia called. Seeing the long voice messages she sent on WeChat, I blocked her without a second thought. My current task was to stock up on supplies. I didn't have time to watch her act. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, pricked my finger, and dripped blood onto the bracelet. Then the bracelet disappeared, and a red mole appeared on the inside of my left wrist. Strange, in my previous life, the bracelet didn't disappear when Amelia wore it. Before I could figure it out, everything went black, and I found myself in another space. I was shocked to see an 88-story building and an endless expanse of black land beneath my feet, roughly estimating. The space was about the size of 10 football fields. I expected it to be big, but not this big. No wonder Amelia was willing to break her hand to get this bracelet. There was even an elevator in the building, but each floor was empty, with no rooms. However, this made it convenient for storing supplies. I mentally willed myself to leave, and sure enough, I was back in the living room the next second. Then I conducted various experiments and confirmed that time inside the building and the space was frozen, while time outside the building passed, and it was suitable for planting. Moreover, 1 hour inside the space was equivalent to 1 minute outside. However, I could only stay in the space for 2 hours a day. If I exceeded that time, I would be automatically ejected. I wondered if the time limit would increase in the future. After confirming the details of the space, I rushed to the nearest breakfast shop. I ordered 2 bamboo steamers of Xiaolongbao, 2 jinbingguzi, and 2 cups of iced soy milk. Then I sat on the curb, wolfing down the food while crying silently. This stunned both the shop owner and the passers-by. I couldn't help it. After living through 5 years of the apocalypse, I hadn't tasted such delicious food in a long time. After eating my fill, seeing that there were still 2 days left of the winter vacation, I found some photos of car accidents and medical certificates online, edited them, and used them to ask my counselor for a 1-month leave of absence. Claiming I had been in a car accident, I called my childhood friend, Erin, who was working at a company, and immediately took a taxi to her workplace. I asked her to meet me at the coffee shop downstairs in an hour, saying I had something important to tell her. To avoid being overheard, I didn't mention the zombie outbreak on the phone. In my previous life, Erin died fighting off a horde of zombies to cover the team's retreat. In this life, it was my turn to protect her. An hour later, I saw Erin at the coffee shop. As soon as I saw her, I hugged her tightly and wouldn't let go. It was so good that none of the terrible things had happened yet. Erin was a bit confused but let me hug her. "Why are you crying? Who bullied you?" After composing myself and making sure no one was around, I briefly told her about the upcoming zombie outbreak. Seeing her skeptical, I waved my hand in front of her, and the coffee on the table disappeared. With another wave, it reappeared. Erin was stunned for a moment, then whispered urgently, "What are we waiting for? Let's start stocking up on supplies." Then she quickly quit her job, even leaving behind half a month's salary. Both Erin and I grew up in an orphanage. Without parents or many attachments, it was easier for us to act, but we also didn't have much money. I only had 20,000 yuan, and Erin had 60,000 yuan. This wasn't enough to stock up on many supplies, so we decided to take out loans. We took out every loan we could find online, except for nude loans. After all, the apocalypse was coming in a month. When the time came, if we couldn't even save our lives, who would remember these loans? We each borrowed 5 million yuan, then rented a 3-bedroom, 1 living room apartment on a high floor in the suburbs. We also rented 2 large warehouses nearby as temporary storage points. Early the next morning, we divided our tasks. I would buy food, and Erin would buy daily necessities. Then we set off in different directions to start stockpiling. Fully armed, I went to the largest wholesale market in City A. I bought 2,000 barrels of tap water, 15,000 kilograms of rice, 100 kilograms each of sweet potatoes, corn, taro, and potatoes. 100 packs each of frozen dumplings and tangyuan, 200 packs of luosafen, 100 packs of spicy chicken noodles, and 300 packs of various hot pot bases and seasonings, 50 kilograms each of strawberries, apples, bananas, pears, kiwis, oranges, tangerines, sugarcane, pomegranates, and mulberries, 10 boxes of instant noodles in various flavors, 200 boxes each of pure milk and yogurt, 50 boxes of high-proof liquor, 50 boxes of beer, and 20 boxes of various beverages, 50 kilograms each of dried noodles. Egg noodles, sweet potato vermicelli, and bean thread noodles, 300 barrels each of peanut oil and rapeseed oil, 100 barrels each of sesame oil and salad oil, 100 packs each of seeds for millet, wheat, corn, sorghum, soybeans, highland barley, buckwheat, bok choy, romaine lettuce, Chinese cabbage, Shanghai green, sweet potatoes, and corn, also 100 saplings each of easy-to-grow fruit trees, 100 kilograms each of raw beef, beef tripe, chicken, duck, pork, marinated chicken wings, chicken feet, duck wings, duck feet, pig trotters, beef, and duck necks, 100 each of roasted ducks, barbecued ducks, and roasted chickens, 100 bags each of various frozen skewers, including beef cubes, chicken cartilage, large squid, and duck intestines. Nuts were expensive, so I only bought 50 kilograms each of pistachios, pecans, macadamia nuts, and pine nuts, which Aaron and I both loved, and 10 kilograms of various snacks. I had all these items delivered to the warehouse we rented the previous night and planned to transfer them to the space when no one was around at night, for, just as I was about to move on after buying these supplies, I saw a familiar figure. It was Amelia. Her left hand was in a cast and wrapped in bandages, and she was holding Wesley's hand affectionately while talking to the shopkeepers. Apparently, they were also stockpiling supplies. I followed them around until they finally drove to their storage location. As soon as Amelia got out of the car, she saw the large warehouse being filled by workers bit by bit. She happily stood on tiptoe and kissed Wesley on the cheek. "Baby, I don't know how to repay you for supporting me in opening this supermarket." Then Wesley put his arm around Amelia's slender waist, and his lips almost touched her ear as he whispered something. "Stop it, you're so bad," Amelia said coquettishly, pushing him away, even though I knew they had been together for a long time. Seeing the scene still hurt, out of sight, out of mind. After memorizing the location of their warehouse, I asked the driver to take me to the food street. I bought 100 servings each of fried chicken tips, fried dough sticks, fried dough balls, iced soy milk, xylombeo, stinky tofu, luosafen, grilled chicken wings, fried noodles, beef offal, skewers, and sweet herbal jelly. Then I found a secluded place and stored them all in the space. These foods tasted best when freshly cooked. As soon as I got back to Aaron's rental apartment, I collapsed on the sofa. In my previous life, this body didn't get much exercise, and a whole day of running around exhausted me. After resting for a while, I called 2 affordable and delicious small restaurants in City A and ordered 100 servings each of sweet and sour spare ribs, braised prawns in oil, twice-cooked pork slices, spicy crayfish, spicy chicken, boiled fish with blood curd, squirrel-shaped mandarin fish, steamed sea bass, braised pork knuckle, braised prawns in oil, pork belly with preserved vegetables, and spare rib and corn soup. Asking for delivery, these dishes wouldn't be easy to get in the apocalypse, so it was better to stock up on them. Then I ordered 200 family buckets from KFC and 200 cups each of our favorite milk tea and coffee. After that, I called a ranch and bought 100 each of chicks, lambs, calves, ducklings, goslings, and piglets, asking them to be delivered to a grassy area in the suburbs. Since there were no surveillance cameras there, I planned to put all the young animals into the space when no one was around. After buying all these things, I only had 10,000 yuan left. Tomorrow, I would rent an excavator to dig a river in the space and buy some fish and shrimp fry, and then I would be completely out of money. As soon as Erin opened the door, she saw me lying on the sofa. Without a word, she flopped down on the other side of the sofa. I sighed. "We need to exercise. Our physical fitness is too weak." Erin rolled over, covered her face with a pillow, and mumbled, "Okay, I'll buy a treadmill and a punching bag tomorrow." Erin's progress was also going smoothly. The shelves she bought were already in the warehouse. She had also ordered bulletproof windows, special anti-theft doors, solar panels, rainwater filters, water purifiers, and generators, and was just waiting for them to be installed tomorrow. She had prepared everything from quilts, down jackets, windbreakers, cotton boots, rain boots, and gloves, to shower gel, facial cleanser, dish soap, sanitary napkins, and lighters, power banks, kerosene, alcohol lamps, candles, compasses, shovels, gas masks, oxygen masks, goggles, as well as self-defense knives and hammers. However, due to the purchase limits on medicine, we couldn't visit all the pharmacies in one day, so we still needed some more time. Everyone around me, except for myself, has been reborn from an apocalyptic life. Uncle Tom sold his house at a low price to buy food and stock up on supplies, fortifying his home with countless layers. Aunt Lily went on a shopping spree, buying luxury goods and gold, wanting to live it up before the apocalypse. The couple next door, famous for their loving relationship, broke up amidst endless quarrels. The lady upstairs chose to work overtime relentlessly, leading a life more terrifying than the infamous 996 schedule, practically living a 007 nightmare. Their lives are colorful, but the one thing they share is the pitying look they give me when they see me, shaking their heads as if my days are numbered. Then, on the day the apocalypse was supposed to arrive, all was calm, nothing happened. One sigh. This was the 43rd person to sigh in front of me. Old man Lee glanced at me, shook his head, and carried a bag of rice into his house. The people around me had all been reborn. I only found out about this recently when Aunt One downstairs accidentally let it slip, and I happened to overhear her. She had said, Shaolin, you should go out more when you have free time, enjoy life a bit, we need to be content and happy. I responded to her, and as I was leaving, I heard her muttering to herself, poor Shaolin, turned into a zombie at the start of the apocalypse. And there was no saving him, turned into a zombie at the start. I died before it even began. I was shocked. Aunt One had drawn an SSS card and could retry even if she didn't succeed initially. As for me, I couldn't even make it to the start. Such rotten luck. Just like when I recently tried summoning the wind god and not only failed but also got reset, too, after sulking for a day. I decided to enjoy life and have some fun. Barbecue, fried potatoes, hot pot, bring it all on. I walked home full of joy. Milk tea in one hand and fried chicken in the other, but before I could even enter my house, I heard the couple next door, famously in love, having a huge fight, ending with the girl storming out with her luggage. Before I could intervene, she stood with hands on hips and yelled into the house, Hayden, spend your life with your mistress, I'm done serving you, cheating on me, serves you right to be thrown into a pile of zombies. Love and hatred displayed vividly in just a few seconds right before my eyes, but now was not the time to enjoy the drama. Another person who drew an SSS card, another reborn person. I spilled my milk tea, me. At this moment, I didn't know whether to feel sadder for her being cheated on or for myself not being reborn. Not only do I lack any special abilities, but I'm also doomed to become a zombie. After saying that, she stormed off with her suitcase, not forgetting to dump her trash, as she passed by. She gave me a pitying look and said, Young lady, let me give you some advice. Fulfill any wishes you have now. You never know what comes first, tomorrow or an accident. Stop bothering with that scumbag. Lamenting over men will only bring misfortune your whole life. Spending money on men will curse you for 3 lifetimes. I responded, quietly guarding my wallet. She gave me an approving look and a thumbs up. You can be taught. 3. I am Valeria, as the community mediator. I usually help residents resolve disputes, and I'm also an online writer. Lately, I've been encountering people who've been reborn, and it seems my fate is sealed. I pray for a chance to survive. After holing up in my house for 2 days, Aunt Lily and Uncle Tom started arguing, drawing me to the scene as the neighborhood mediator. Upon arrival, I saw Uncle Tom busily moving loads of food into the house. I walked over, ready to make small talk and assess the situation. Seeing me, Uncle Tom paused. Shaolin, life is so unpredictable. Do what you want to do first. What's that saying about tomorrow and accidents? You never know which comes first. I replied helplessly. Another person who drew an SSS card appeared. Why are there so many people reborn from the apocalypse? It's like poking a hornet's nest of reborn individuals. Yes, that's what I meant. Uncle Tom nodded repeatedly. Aunt Lily, with a gold-ringed finger pointing, instructed me. Hurry up and get Uncle Tom to stop, he's shaking the ceiling down, it's non-stop noise. Thinking of a solution, I realized it was impractical to ask Uncle Tom to stop now. Building fortifications is a matter of life and death. Could I really persuade him to stop? Besides, I don't even know when the apocalypse will hit. Uncle Tom, hands on his hips and furious, said, You know we only have a year, what are you trying to do? You don't want to live and you won't let others live either. Provoked. Aunt Lily threw down her shopping bag. So you have a reason to disturb the peace every day. It's not the future yet. Aunt Lily is also reborn. How do I solve this? Question. How do you make 2 reborn individuals get along when they've pulled me, a mediator who turned into a zombie right at the start, into their conflict? This is like a level of hell. I chose to answer, if you can't mediate, just run, waving goodbye to them. I said, Auntie and Uncle. I think Uncle has a point about the unpredictability of life. I need to take care of important things first. I need to save my own life before the apocalypse and cherish the little time I have left. I can't afford to mess with these two. How could someone as unlucky as me dare to provoke two reborn individuals? What if they get upset and turn on me? Once I accept my own weaknesses, I become invincible. In this situation, I choose to give up. After resigning, I sat at home watching cartoons, only to be woken up at midnight by fireworks outside and footsteps above. I expertly grabbed some earplugs and inserted them into my ears. Since more people have been reborn, they either renovate their houses or throw parties in the middle of the night, trying to celebrate before the apocalypse. I've gotten used to this level of noise, but the footsteps grew closer, followed by a faint knock on the door. Peering through the peephole, I saw a woman from upstairs, another person who had returned from the dead. Everyone who's been reborn is just slacking off, no more going to classes, either partying everywhere or frantically fortifying their homes and hoarding supplies. But she was different. She chose to work overtime relentlessly. 996 wasn't enough for her ambitions. She went for 007, and I often heard shower noises from her place at midnight. This ruthless woman, having died once, still wants to drag us into her frenzy. The queen of overachievement marches on. Nothing grows here. I opened the door, ready to ask her what was the matter. Instead of beating around the bush, she walked straight into the room, casually closed the door behind her, and sat down with a natural flair. She opened her file folder and gestured for me to come over. Her movements were succinct and fluid, skipping the pleasantries to save time. True to her reputation as a top student, she didn't want to waste even a second. As I approached, she stared at me with furrowed brows. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Molly, 5 years older than you, and your upstairs neighbor, Ms. Moo. I acknowledged, unsure of her intentions. I'm here to propose a collaboration with you. A collaboration? Was she crazy, or was I? I looked at her in utter disbelief. Everyone who was reborn knew I would turn into a zombie at the onset of the apocalypse. She must be aware of it too. Was she seriously considering collaborating with me? When the apocalypse hits, I'd turn her into a zombie right away. Did she want us to become zombies together and hunt others? That couldn't be right. It seemed the brain of the top student was foggy after rebirth. She no longer wanted to be human but a zombie, but maybe that was okay. She was always on the move, always with dark circles under her eyes. Being a zombie might actually be less strenuous than being human. Turning into a zombie might not be such a bad option after all. She really lived up to her reputation, even in becoming a zombie. She was going all out. I nodded in agreement. If we're going to collaborate, my first bite is reserved for you, ensuring you turn before anyone else. 6. Have you realized that only the people in our complex have been reborn? She asked as she flipped through some documents. Of course, I nodded. Otherwise, with Uncle Tom frantically moving supplies, he would have already emptied the stock of our local supermarket. If others had been reborn too, the world would be in chaos by now. But isn't that the general consensus in our complex? I curiously glanced at her, waiting for her to get to the point. I wanted to watch Lazy Sheep. I wasn't in the mood to chat. I lifted my chin, urging her with my eyes to bravely speak up. There was nothing to fear about wanting to become a zombie. In the future, I would be a zombie, your guide. She gave me a weird look and slowly said, after the apocalypse, I was the only survivor in the complex. After this disaster, only a third of the global population survived. The rest either lacked supplies, turned on each other, or became zombies at the very start, losing their right to live. So why seek a collaboration with me, someone who turns into a zombie right from the start? I wondered if she had lost her mind to even suggest such a thing. She held my hand. They are wrong. You didn't turn into a zombie immediately. We were wandering together outside when you tried to save a child and got bitten by a zombie, sacrificing yourself heroically. I watched helplessly as you gradually turned into a zombie, your complexion growing paler, and your eyes reddening. I covered her mouth with my hand. Stop. If she continued, I would end up vomiting the fried chicken I had just eaten all over her. No holds barred. She nodded, signaling for me to let go of her mouth. Later, someone brought you into the neighborhood. You were the first one there to turn into a zombie. People assumed you were the first one infected. You were different from the other zombies. Completely natural, you'd eat grass but never bite anyone. I hadn't turned into a zombie at the beginning. There might still be hope for me, but I'd rather eat grass than bite someone. Am I still a zombie? No wonder everyone is so friendly towards me. I covered my face in embarrassment, unable to believe how pathetic I was. Not biting is fine, but eating grass, that's making all zombies look bad. I didn't look like a zombie at all. It was pitiful. Suddenly, Molly changed the subject. After the apocalypse ended, the zombies were gone, but people, who had grown accustomed to violently scavenging for supplies, did they care whether they killed zombies or humans? When such people are in the majority, it could lead to another disaster. So, did everyone just ruin everything in the end? I guessed the outcome. I also realized why she had come, to prevent another disaster from happening. Pretty much, she replied. What about collaboration? Since I wasn't one of the first to turn into a zombie, I wanted to survive. Teaming up with someone who knew what the future held seemed like the best strategy. If I was going to seek support, it had better be from the strongest support available. We need to find out why people in the neighborhood were reborn. She handed me some files. Here's some data I've gathered recently that you can look through. What do you want to do? I watched her expression, trying to discern the truth in her words. We need to find the real reason behind this disaster and stop it. Otherwise, even if we survive this apocalypse, another massive disaster will await us. She looked fanatical, a huge challenge ahead, but if we could overcome it, the future would no longer be a living hell. I shivered. This woman's expression was frightening. After she left, I couldn't stop picturing her fanatical demeanor. How could someone who had survived the apocalypse not be changed by it? I was skeptical, but I had no choice but to follow the lead she provided, as I hadn't been reborn and didn't know what the future held. Following her plan might lead me to some clues, obedient on the surface, but secretly investigating. A double agent, I was the embodiment of cleverness and courage. She tasked me with finding Grandpa Lee in our neighborhood to ask about an ancient clock there. I went to Grandpa Lee's house, where he lay on a sun lounger in the courtyard, basking in the sun as he had done for years without his limbs degrading. This was the retirement life I dreamed of. Hearing footsteps, he slowly opened his eyes and saw me, leisurely calling out, "Little Lynn is here. Take a seat, Grandpa. We're planning an activity for the kids in the neighborhood to learn about old objects. I'm gathering information about old clocks." He was momentarily stunned, then got up from his lounger and went inside to fetch a booklet, which he handed to me enthusiastically. That old clock has special significance. It's good to educate the kids. Today's kids are under so much pressure with all their studies. It's time they had some relaxation. The pressure really is intense. Back in our school days, we'd run outside the moment class ended. So happy, I nodded and promised, I'll definitely complete the task, finding joy for them. After the apocalypse ends and the mysteries are unraveled, I will organize an event where children can run freely in the sunlight, no longer living just to survive. I refuse to become that despicable woman who, when her own umbrella is broken, wishes to tear others apart. All right, after the event, just return the booklet to me. I won't see you out, he said, hunched over as he continued to sit in the lounge chair. Basking in the sun, I opened the booklet which read, "The enemy attacked and occupied the temple, then the old man used the bell to strike them and survived. The old bell saved the life of a wealthy man and thus was venerated, adorned in gold and silver, enjoying luxuries. I couldn't help but feel envious of such treatment. But what does this have to do with the apocalypse? What exactly is Molly's purpose? The origin of the old bell isn't anything special, and I can't find any clues from this angle." I decided to visit the site to see it for myself. When I reached the old bell and inadvertently touched it, it transformed into a beam of light that landed straight on my wrist. Oh no, the old bell has vanished. Then, a tattoo of a bell appeared on my wrist, thankfully sparing me from having to sell myself for the bell. Suddenly, many images flashed through my mind, from the initial fall of a meteorite to the subsequent outbreak of zombies chasing people, who fled in panic, searching everywhere for food, searching for shelters. Until the apocalypse was over, people couldn't control their desires and started killing each other. Children cried, mothers were forced to jump from buildings, bodies were strewn everywhere, the world turned red, a complete devastation. All of this could have been avoided, because it wasn't a natural disaster, but a man-made one. Yet, what should not have happened, happened in the end. Human desires are never fully satisfied, and it was the meteorite that triggered these desires. How terrifying it is to be controlled by one's own desires. Unlike me, who only shivers in the corner, after becoming a zombie, I fell into a deep sleep, and by the time I woke up, the world had already changed, order collapsed, and there was no clarity in people's eyes. Even after the apocalypse ended, human nature is fickle. In the end, it's you kill, I kill, everyone kills. It all completely fell apart, and I trembled amidst it all. The old bell found me and sent me back to the past to prevent everything from happening. The bell and I made a pact. I sent the meteorite back to outer space, and it entrusted its life and death to me, also taking a gamble on whether I was worth trusting. I am Valeria, of course, worth trusting. However, a mishap occurred along the way, and except for me, everyone in the neighborhood was reborn. Looking at my wrist, the tattoo of the old bell was extremely bright. The golden finger arrived. Although late, I stood with my hands on my hips, laughing brilliantly. Who would have thought that the one initially seen as pitiful would transform into the savior now? Allow me a moment of joy first. After my joyful moment, I hurriedly drove to X City. X City, where the meteorite landed, was the origin of all disasters. It was also the future refuge, where people turned on each other. My task this time was to return the meteorite to its original location. On the way to City X, I thought of Molly. Most of what she said was right, but she concealed a critical point. The meteorite didn't actually kill people, it just plunged their consciousness into a deep slumber. Those who were bitten by zombies and those who initially turned into zombies could also revert back to being human, except for those who were killed by others. They got no second chance. The appearance of the meteorite wasn't meant to destroy the world, it was a test. A test of the goodness or evil in people's hearts. And the people of the past failed this test, so, this time, we opted out. If we can't pass, then why bother taking the test at all? Yet, she never mentioned a word about this. It would be interesting, had she promoted this idea from the shadows right from the beginning. Even if a disaster occurred, it wouldn't have escalated to a catastrophic level like in the past. There would still be room to maneuver, but instead, she chose to approach me right from the start. She really was a master at hiding her true feelings, speaking half-truths. If I hadn't accessed the memories, I might have been deceived too. Indeed, my initial suspicions were confirmed. Those who survived the apocalypse were already assimilated. But why was she so sure about my connection with Old Clock, even though she had complete memories? Soon, I got the answer. The old clock pattern on my wrist started ticking, sending me Morse code. Perhaps, the world's rebirth had exhausted all its energy. And now it could only feebly communicate with me. Life is tough. Decoding this was a test of my intelligence, but I wouldn't just give in to it. Oh no. Eventually, after a long struggle, I managed to decode it. Luckily, it was brief, otherwise, my reputation as a savior would be at risk. Molly, meteorite, agreement. It looked like Molly had made an agreement with the meteorite, which is why she was reborn too. So, I wasn't the only one. She also received special attention. But why could she return to the past with her full memory intact, while I had to find the original form of Old Clock to gain mine? This disparity made me exclaim, "TSK, TSK, Old Clock, you're not cutting it." The clock flashed a few times, the ticking sound growing louder, not caring about energy consumption, as if trying to deafen me. I pulled out a power stone, which contained energy. The clock stopped instantly. Gotcha. Holding your lifeline, still think you can rebel, after absorbing the energy. The clock turned into a screen under my control. It even allowed typing. This time, it quickly revealed how to send the meteorite back to outer space. First, I had to get the control key for the meteorite from Molly, and with the function of Old Clock itself, I could then send the meteorite back to outer space. Another task to do. Sigh. Life is tough. Treasure every moment. After arriving in City X, I saw a tent where the meteorite had landed. Molly was sitting there waiting for me. Inside the tent, there were many snacks and a blanket. I couldn't help but marvel at how comfortably she was living. Seeing me approach, she remained unflustered, watching me calmly. Are we cooperating this time? Why not? I chose not to directly expose her motives. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. This comes from the 24 strategies I just reviewed. We waited together for the apocalypse to arrive. After the end times, when heroes vie for supremacy, we would share the power. What do you think? Her words were straightforward, revealing everything without fear that I might eliminate her. It turned out that the agreement she made with the meteorite was to destroy Ancient Bell. After all, as long as Ancient Bell wasn't destroyed, there would be hidden dangers. The moment I got the key, Ancient Bell could send the meteorite back to outer space anytime. Despite her daily attempts at being a 007, trying various methods, she still failed. Therefore, she had no choice but to turn to me and choose to collaborate. She didn't know my background, just as I didn't know her true intentions. So, the initial flattery was just to make me lower my guard. Are you crazy? You'd rather keep a meteorite and let it destroy the world instead of sending it back to space. I couldn't understand her decision. If it's all for power, can't we achieve that in the current world? Must we reorganize and let the world pay a terrible price? What's wrong with the meteorite? It merely amplifies the deepest desires of people. Besides, it doesn't kill them outright. It just puts them to sleep for a while. Just agree with me, and when they fight amongst themselves, we can profit from their dispute. Her tone carried a hint of seduction, urging me to make a decision. To make the same choice as her, to submit to the meteorite, to submit to the supreme power. But who am I? I am Sakura Yuhanling Valeria. How could I be tempted by these things? I choose to refuse. The meteorite indeed didn't kill people, but it made their bodies very frail. It inherently caused great harm. So, I made my choice. This collaboration is over. Unable to persuade her for the time being, I chose to leave. She called out to me, "Valeria, you were born under the sun." naturally seeing everything as pure. But what about me? I've been struggling since graduation. I simply don't want to return to my small village, so I must relentlessly scramble, no matter how hard I fight, exhausting my youth. I still can't take root here, she said, tears flowing. I just want to be like you all. Who doesn't want to stroll around after work, to play everywhere? I want that too, but I can't. I need to settle down. But it's too difficult. If the apocalypse makes your life worse than before, what sense does all this make? Can it really improve your life? Why not? It can balance my psyche. They keep raising prices, then insincerely increase the wages just a little. What's that salary good for? I should even be thankful to them, because without them, I wouldn't even have a job, so I have to be grateful. Her smile was tinged with bitterness, you know. The happiest time for me was just when the apocalypse broke out. Everyone was equal, surviving just for the sake of survival. No matter how glamorous people looked on regular days, no matter how much they bullied others, everyone was brought low. Molly laughed wildly, hands on her hips. That's how it should be. Why should people be born into different social classes, some inheriting fortunes at birth, while others die unclaimed? They are so arrogant, utterly indifferent to us. As if we are like wildfire, unquenchable. Just like the wild grass that springs back to life with the breeze of spring, providing them with endless wealth. So you have to promise me, let's destroy the old clock, okay? Give everyone an equal opportunity to start over and reshape the world, Molly pleaded with me, gripping my wrist tightly with one hand and fervently rubbing the pattern of the old clock with the other, her nails almost digging into my flesh. It really hurt. This woman was ruthless. I shook off her hand and tied her up with the rope I had prepared. I reject your request. Is this really giving everyone a chance to reshape? You're taking away the hope of survival from those who are physically weak. If you let the meteor fall this time, you will also be one of those destroying their lives. She stared at me blankly, then struggled violently, like a madwoman, constantly saying, let me go, let me go. I just want to let the events of the past continue. Is that wrong? Can't we just let nature take its course? I looked at her, my gaze growing colder. Her ideas were extremely paranoid. To reshape the world, she was willing to doom everyone. But isn't the world always reshaping? It's just that the changes are not very significant. I want to save the world. She wants to destroy it. Back and forth. It amounts to nothing. No. I need to get the key quickly. The meteor is falling tomorrow. And it will slowly affect the world until the zombie outbreak a year later. So I laid out the facts. Of course not. Have you ever thought, even if the apocalypse comes, those people will still enjoy their original treatments? Your dream of equality for all is just a dream. Impossible. You're lying to me. You're just trying to trick me into giving up the key. I won't be fooled. Her laugh was sinister, making me frown. She lay flat. Woman, you just want the key, right? Search for it yourself. With that posture, could I really find it? Unlikely. I chose to continue persuading her, a joke. How could I, Valeria Sakurayuki Hanliang, not persuade her? I needed to make her wholeheartedly convinced. First, I would shatter her beliefs, and second, I would change her views, completely persuading her. Then I activated the old clock, which immediately displayed a series of images. After the apocalypse, the former richest men of City A and some well-known tycoons were heavily protected, living even more extravagantly than before the apocalypse. Even more openly, since legal restrictions no longer applied. She immediately looked at me with tearful eyes, filled with disbelief. How could her steadfast beliefs be wrong? They couldn't be wrong. It wasn't possible. Molly shook her head frantically, her head almost blurring into an afterimage. My gaze followed her movements. After a long time, she finally stopped. My head spun dizzyingly as she collapsed onto the carpet. The first tactic had worked, shattering her beliefs, but at what cost? It was all so harmful to each other. After resting for a while, our conversation continued. Even if what you believe is right, what about you? You and they are no different in the end. It's just the pot calling the kettle black. You survived, but not without taking lives yourself. The once dragon-slaying girl had turned into a dragon herself. I spoke with righteous indignation, trying to make her reflect on her own actions. She scoffed. How could I be like those degenerates? They are demons. While I am the embodiment of justice, I disdain the act of killing. Once someone takes a life, they can't be reborn. Anyone who has even a trace of blood on their hands is corrupted in thought. No killings. Not assimilated by the apocalypse, could my guess. Valeria Sakurayuki Hanliang, have been wrong. That shouldn't be. I untied her, watching her cautiously. She simply lay down on the ground. I give up on my previous decision. You probably can't accomplish what you intended. What do you plan to do next? Molly quickly regained her composure, true to her reputation as a long-standing champion of resilience. As soon as her beliefs crumbled, she bounced back. Quickly finding the best possible solution, she slammed her hand on the table. Since the world can't be restructured, I'm done playing spy. Let whoever wants to live that life go ahead. Pointing to the dark circles under her eyes, she complained to me, look at these. I apply foundation for ages every day, and sometimes it still doesn't cover them. Molly's voice trembled, waking up early every day, working overtime without extra pay. They are worse than the most notorious exploiters. I tentatively spoke. If I said I could solve your problem, would you give me the key? You'd be doing me a favor. Her smile returned. As long as you can stop everyone from being exploited, I'll give it to you right away. Stopping the capitalists from exploiting others, isn't that against their very nature? I gave a sheepish smile, inwardly calling out to the watch countless times, but it remained silent. I pretended to throw away the weight stone, threatening it, and it finally spoke, albeit weakly. I have a solution. Problem solved. Excellent. I nodded at Molly. I accept your terms. She clapped her hands, efficiently tossing the key to me as if it were a hot potato. The key was now successfully in my hands. Truly, I am the chosen one. Splendid. I gave myself a thumbs up. I took the key, observing it closely. It was silver, dazzlingly so, and under the moonlight, it seemed to be enveloped in a layer of mystery, utterly alluring. Seeing the deal concluded, Molly sat cross-legged, relaxed and carefree as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She poured herself a drink and began sipping it. In no time, her cheeks were flushed. With the alcohol loosening her tongue, she became more talkative. Actually, I was hesitant at first about handing over the key. The apocalypse was so brutal, with the stench of blood everywhere. The only thing that attracted me was its potential to restructure the world. I deliberately ignored the disasters involved. Children and the elderly are vulnerable, always at risk of being abandoned. I thought those at the top could be brought down, and those below could climb up. It wasn't just about birthright. The diligent could reap rewards, but all that turned out to be false. There's nothing left to cling to. I took the wine glass from her hand, and she looked at me in surprise. There's a form of heroism in recognizing the harsh realities of life yet still cherishing it, after all. We only live for a few decades, we might as well embrace it as it comes. People long for different things, some aspire for a simple life, while others seek power and high status. Most of the time, many of the things we end up with aren't what we truly wanted, we're just swept along by circumstances. When we are part of society, facing its complex challenges, it's crucial to understand our own needs. I crave sugar because I want it, not because everyone else has it and that makes me want it too. I'm surprised I could utter such philosophical words. Awesome. Molly seemed thoughtful. The night deepened, and I picked up my blanket, ready to go straight to sleep. Without any hesitation, she grabbed the blanket and covered her head. I decided not to argue with someone who was clearly distressed. Throughout the night, I occasionally heard sobbing. The next day, her eyes were red and swollen. I made some ice packs for her to reduce the swelling. She couldn't help but start crying again. Oh. Such an easily moved girl. How did I ever think she would be corrupted by the apocalypse? 007 is really merciless, driving such a fine girl to madness. The meteorite arrived as expected. She took the key, and I released the old clock. With one final flash, the old clock took the meteorite back to outer space. It once saved a wealthy man's life, and now it has returned the meteorite to outer space, saving the world. It's over. Everything is over. Apocalypse and hell on earth are gone. I felt a silent gratitude, and Molly smiled too. It's gone home. What? I looked at her, puzzled. Never mind, let's head back. With our task completed, it was time to set sail for home. We returned to our neighborhood where people were still hurriedly preparing for the apocalypse. Uncle Tom was still stockpiling food. Aunt Lily was shopping fervently. The only constant was their smiles, which diminished day by day. Seeing this, Molly chatted with me. Do you know why they haven't been assimilated? They only survived the apocalypse for a few days. The survival of the fittest doesn't really apply to our lives. Fortunately, it's all over now. People will forever be happy. Molly and I exchanged a knowing smile. The apocalypse would never return. Later, on my birthday, the people in the neighborhood each gave me a gift, having learned the value of life through the apocalypse. I knew the apocalypse would not return. But they didn't know that I wouldn't turn into a zombie in the future. They cared for me in their own way. It was unexpectedly heartwarming. As time drew closer, everyone occasionally couldn't control their emotions and would start sobbing. A year later, everyone closed their doors and windows, gazing out with solemn expressions, waiting for the apocalypse to arrive. As time passed, there were no zombies, no screams, and they all went online to find calm seas, day by day. The tension built, first one day, then two, until 10 days had passed. Finally, someone couldn't bear it any longer. They flung open the door and ran outside, shouting into the open air, shouts filled with hopes for the future and the despair of the past. From inside the house, responses echoed, one after another, rising from soft to loud, from children to the elderly. Eventually, Everyone was shouting while tears streamed down their faces, unable to put their emotions into words, in that moment. They finally believed that the end of the world was not going to come. The following night, the sound of fireworks was unceasing, accompanied by the beating of drums and the crackling of firecrackers. People sang and danced in jubilation. Everywhere, there were loud and wild noises. It was as lively as the New Year celebrations. A passerby casually asked why it was so lively. I replied, with 5G, the internet is so fast it feels like the new year has come early. A passerby, 22, do you think they'll regret it, having made all those preparations and then the apocalypse didn't come? I chatted with Molly, why would they regret? Living a simple life is the greatest happiness. That's true, having survived what seemed like the end times before. As long as one could live safely, people cared less about material things. I never planned to recreate the apocalypse. I just wanted to know what a life without constant internal competition would look like. I know. She looked puzzled. I believe you. She nodded slightly, her eyes filled with mirth. The feeling of being trusted is truly wonderful, facing one's own desires, understanding what one truly wants, and then achieving happiness. Molly had quit her job a year ago, and since then, we had traveled everywhere, no longer haunted by the specter of 007. Speaking of which, when will Ancient Bell fulfill its wish? When will it return from outer space? I replied indifferently. The mental supernatural ability isn't very obvious in the early stage. You'll know about it later. In the 2 months, we kept hunting zombies, looking for crystal cores, and working out. Our supernatural abilities had a qualitative breakthrough. My supernatural ability broke through to the middle stage of the 3rd rank. Aaron's was in the later stage of the 2nd rank. Carter's was in the early stage of the 2nd rank, and Benjamin's was in the later stage of the 2nd rank. At this time, I didn't tell them about the spiritual spring in the space. However, I mixed the water of the spiritual spring into the water and let them drink it. Otherwise, how could they break through so quickly? They were often shocked by the freshness of the ingredients, but they tacitly didn't ask anything. On National Day in the 3rd month of the apocalypse, I was so heartbroken that I took everything from the beautifully decorated apartment and left nothing behind. Then, I drove with them to City E. There would be rare 2nd rank and 3rd rank zombies, and the crystal cores in the zombies' brains had a very high purity. Most importantly, we would meet Aurora, a teammate with a healing supernatural ability from my previous life. In my previous life, she not only had a healing supernatural ability but also was a very powerful scientific researcher. The zombie vaccine she was researching had made preliminary breakthroughs. However, later, she accidentally touched zombie blood and turned into a zombie. We drove to a 5-star hotel in City E. There were densely packed zombies around the hotel. More than a dozen supernatural ability users were struggling to resist the zombies. There were too many zombies, and their numbers were gradually decreasing. Their supernatural abilities were almost exhausted. But the number of zombies didn't decrease much. Just when they thought they were about to die, a team walked towards them through the flames. For our team, cutting these ordinary zombies that hadn't evolved was like cutting Chinese cabbage. There were just too many of them, and it was very laborious to clean them up. It took a full 2 hours to finish. Thank you. If it weren't for you, we would have died, said the supernatural ability users who had just cleared the zombies as they bowed and thanked us. It's nothing, it's just a piece of cake. After entering the hotel, I saw not only Aurora but also Amelia. However, Wesley was no longer by her side. Instead, there was another man. Amelia was very surprised to see me, but there was more resentment in her eyes. When we entered, the atmosphere among the crowd became much more silent than before. Everyone had their own thoughts, but soon Amelia broke the silence. Isabella, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here, she said, pretending to be surprised. She walked up to me with small steps and stretched out her hand to hug me. I sidestepped to avoid her. Get lost. What the hell is your attitude? Amelia's boyfriend frowned. She ran back to her boyfriend with a wronged expression and said in a coquettish voice, It's okay. Maybe my friend is in a bad mood and didn't mean to be mean to me. Who's your friend? I won't be friends with a bitch who steals someone else's boyfriend, I said. I didn't. Amelia replied with tears in her eyes. Right. You're the most wrong person in the world, Aaron interjected. After this commotion, there were some voices, but it eventually turned into an argument. The content of the argument was that a group of people were morally pressuring one person, student wine. Since you have a spatial supernatural ability and there's food in it, why can't you share it with us? Amelia said. We should help each other in the apocalypse. Yeah. A group of people shamelessly echoed Amelia's words. Aurora lowered her head and didn't interject. She thought that it was someone else's own thing. Why should they share it when they couldn't even eat enough themselves? But with so many people around, as a girl who didn't have the strength to protect herself, she didn't say anything. If you want to be a good person so much, Find supplies and distribute them yourself, Carter said, frowning at their behavior. I don't have any supplies. If I did, I would definitely share them with everyone, Amelia said with tears in her eyes when someone refuted her. Amelia, don't you have a spatial ring? Why are you saying you don't have any supplies? I said. A group of people all looked at Amelia. Amelia's face turned red. We haven't met since the zombie outbreak. Don't slander me, Amelia panicked. She couldn't figure out how I knew about the spatial ring she exchanged from the system. Of course, I didn't know. I was just bluffing her. Seeing her expression, I was sure of my guess. After all, in my previous life, I had never seen her wear such a ring. It was very likely that she didn't get my spatial bracelet and exchanged for a spatial ring from the system. You told me so yourself, Amelia, don't you remember? Amelia stared at me and warned, Isabella, stop talking nonsense. Do you have any evidence that I have a spatial ring? I raised my chin. Isn't that ring on your hand the spatial ring? Amelia's mind was racing, but she quickly calmed down. This ring was bound, and only she could open it. Then she raised her right hand confidently. This is just an ordinary ring. Seeing what Amelia was thinking, I explained, a spatial ring can't only be opened by its owner. A mental supernatural ability can also remove the inhibition on it. Amelia obviously didn't believe me. I said it's just an ordinary ring. Benjamin lifted the half-frame glasses on his nose with his fingertips and said, I'm a mental supernatural ability user. Let me try, and we'll know. Why should I give it to you? It's my thing, Amelia said weakly. Erin dug her ears and was very impatient. Because you vowed that we should share the supplies, and you happen to have supplies in your ring. I don't have any supplies, Amelia said as she threw herself into her boyfriend's arms, looking very wronged. The man hesitated for a while and finally said heartlessly, why don't you give the ring to them to check? Even you don't believe me? Fine, then I'll leave. Seeing them being affectionate and pulling each other, the red-haired man in the crowd couldn't stand it. He walked up to Amelia, grabbed the ring from her finger, and threw it to Benjamin. You can leave, but leave the ring behind. If you keep refusing to show the ring, what else could it mean but that you have a guilty conscience? With the red-haired man's interference, Amelia could only pray that the ring couldn't be opened, but contrary to her wish, Benjamin not only opened the ring but also poured out all the supplies in the space. Seeing the supplies piled up like a hill on the ground, the man pushed Amelia away with a disappointed expression. His heart was almost broken. He had risked his life to find supplies before, hoping that Amelia could eat and sleep well. He never expected that he had been a clown all along. 9. Amelia squatted on the ground and cried, but no one paid attention to her. The supplies piled up like a hill were quickly divided and eaten up. When Carter saw Amelia slipping away quietly, he was about to chase after her, but Benjamin grabbed the back of his neck. Don't go, Carter hesitated for a while and said, but, just listen to me. After saying that, Benjamin also rubbed Carter's fluffy hair. Okay, Carter replied helplessly. Later, I invited Aurora to join our team. We formed a 5-person team. After searching for a long time, we finally found third-rank zombies. After killing the zombies, we found a villa to use as our base, but not long after, Amelia came with a large group of people. Brother Lynn, it's her who bullied me. And she even made people take my spatial ring, Amelia said, looking wronged as she was hugged. Just a bunch of losers. Do you think you can beat us? Carter laughed loudly, not giving them any face. Then the coercion we exerted was at least in the later stage of the 2nd rank, and the highest was in the early stage of the 4th rank. Each rank was a watershed, and the gap was really huge. Amelia didn't have supernatural abilities, so she naturally didn't know our levels. She thought the people she brought could defeat us. Her system didn't know either because her system only had a task release panel and an integral mall exchange panel. The 3rd-rank man in the lead was very sensible. He slapped Amelia and sent her flying to the ground. He clearly distinguished between his life and a woman. You dare to deceive me, brothers, retreat. Amelia quickly got up and chased after them. Brother, don't leave me behind. Take me with you, woo-woo. The men Amelia brought drove away, leaving Amelia to eat their exhaust. Isabella, you forced me, she said. Getting angrier and angrier, she turned around and looked at us fiercely. The surrounding momentum kept rising, gradually climbing from the 1st rank to the later stage of the 5th rank. I thought she would attack me first, so I got into a fighting stance early. Unexpectedly, her wind blade attacked Aurora. We all didn't expect this. After all, she should hate me the most here. So we couldn't even help Aurora block the attack. Fortunately, after our training, Aurora wasn't as weak as before and managed to avoid the fatal blow. However, the wind blade cut through her arm, and the wound was so deep that blood gushed out. The members of our team were enraged by this action and launched an attack on Amelia. At first, we were at a disadvantage. After all, there was a big difference between the 3rd, 4th ranks and the 5th rank, but gradually, Amelia became more and more exhausted. After all, she had never used her supernatural ability. She had the strength of the 5th rank but didn't know how to use it. In the end, she was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Then she spat out a mouthful of old blood with a wow. Carter used his wood-based supernatural ability to tie Amelia up tightly. I walked over and asked, "Why did you want Aurora to die?" Amelia spat out a mouthful of blood. Bah. "Because she's a bitch and deserves to die." I took a hammer from the space and smashed her bones little by little. "I think you haven't figured out your position yet." The space. It's the space. You've time traveled too, right? It's my turn to ask questions. You're not qualified to ask me," I said and hammered again. Amelia let out screams. I'll talk, only if she dies. The vaccine against zombies won't be successfully developed. The zombies won't disappear. And my system won't disappear either. It was just as I guessed. In my previous life, Aurora's death wasn't an accident. It was all Amelia's doing. Damn it, Aurora said angrily. She snatched the hammer from my hand and knocked Amelia unconscious with one hammer. She scratched her head awkwardly. "I didn't expect her to be so weak," she said. "Baby, let's go home. Stop making trouble. However, Captain, don't be angry. I'll heal her right away." 10. Amelia was awakened by the aroma of the hot pot. The boiling butter soup mixed with various vegetables and fresh meat gave off a strong fragrance, making her mouth water. Then she found that the injuries on her body didn't hurt anymore and were all healed. She tentatively said, "Isabella, have you forgiven me?" After eating and drinking to our fill, I put down my chopsticks, picked up the hammer on the ground, and smiled evilly. "I will never forgive you in my life." There were continuous sounds of Amelia begging for mercy in the villa. At first, she shouted loudly, but gradually her voice weakened until there was no sound. Aurora said, "Captain, you're so scary." Carter nodded in agreement. "I agree. What are you talking about?" I smiled. Carter quickly tried to change the subject. "It's nothing. Aurora, heal her in 7 days. Don't let her die so easily." I'll be very tired." "Captain, I'll give you a 2nd-rank crystal core for each treatment." "Wow, suddenly I don't feel that tired anymore," Aurora replied with a smile. 11. 3 years later, Aurora developed a vaccine that could prevent people from turning into zombies after being scratched or bitten by zombies. She became a hot scientific research genius in the country. The vaccine was gradually promoted nationwide, and the world was slowly returning to order, except for Aurora. Our team all accepted military management and joined the National Special Guard. As for Amelia, after Aurora developed the vaccine and the system was separated from her, I personally ended her life.